Today we will discuss uh, the latest conflict. We can call it the sixth war between Israel and Palestine, though it's being termed as Israel versus Hamas. Hamas being an organization which had won the elections in 2006 in Gaza area, and after that there has been no election. And it is known in the West as a terrorist organization. Some people call it militant organization, though there is a technical differential between the two. UK does not consider organization as a terrorist organization if it is only involved in militancy. We will be looking at the history of this. The spark took place on 6th October when 2,000 rockets were fired from Gaza Strip onto the southern part of Israel, and over 1,000 persons died, and there were very unfortunate incidents also with it. In a dance party, it was a religious day in Israel. It's called Yom Kippur, and it reminded people of the 1967 war, which was anyway called the Yom Kippur War. The Israelis then reacted very sharply, and the persons from, we can call it Hamas, or from across the border in Gaza Strip, were practically all killed. That is another number of about 1,000. And then the militants had taken away few hundred, I think 199 it is said, sometimes 200 hostages back to the Gaza Strip. And because of that, Israel Prime Minister declared state of war and started bombing the Gaza Strip. So another 1,000 or so persons died in that. And the latest incident took place on 18th October, very unfortunate, when Israeli bombs attacked a hospital and 500 persons in the hospital died. There is some debate whether the attack was a failed rocket attack of another jihadi organization or it was of Israel. Israel does not claim it that they had bombed it, and obviously the other party also does not claim that they had bombed it. But there has been a very, very sharp reaction in favor of the Palestinians because their water, electricity, food have all been blocked. And 1.3 million or so out of 2.3 million or so population have been asked to leave the northern part of the Gaza Strip and go over to the southern part or into the neighboring countries like Jordan and Egypt. And we will come to it towards the end. With the attack on hospital and stoppage of all the necessities of life, which is against the norms of Geneva Convention and international law, human rights law, and so on. Pregnant women, there are about 50,000 estimated pregnant women not getting food, water, etc., is tantamount to a war crime. So the formal resolution came up in the UN yesterday, that is 18th, and first the resolution was moved by Russia, saying that there should be ceasefire. There the vote was not very strong because Russia, China, and two other countries, Zimbabwe is the third one, voted in favor of that resolution, and then US and the European powers who are permanent members like UK and France opposed it, and then rest were abstentations. Then the negotiations started to say whether there can be an agreement on a watered down version, and the watered down version is what was vetoed upon. It was moved by Brazil and two countries abstained, that is Russia, because its stronger resolution was not approved, and UK, only one country opposed it, that is USA, and the rest of them supported that resolution, that at least humanitarian corridors should be opened so that the aid can flow and persons who want to shift through. Now, there has been a very strong reaction to the announcement by Israel that 1.3 million people uh, should leave the country. I mean, the question is very simple: where should they go? And there, and that is U.S. and Israel. Answer is that they should go to Egypt. Now, Egypt says, how can we manage so many people and looking after them and making refugees? Earlier, also, few million Palestinians are in the neighboring Arab region to which we will come. So, the conflict now is about Israel wanting and US supporting that they will destroy Hamas. But in the process of destroying Hamas, they will end up destroying the whole of the Gaza Strip because Hamas is not sitting at one particular place. They're all over. And they give the excuse of saving their citizens who are there. And some of them are from USA and Europe also, but mostly they are Israelis. But commonsensical logic would say that if you indiscriminately bomb the buildings, how are you going to save your own hostages? So the hostages are not at one particular place, which surround and then destroy the people who are keeping those hostages. Be that as it may, now the resolution therefore did not pass. The UN bodies or the persons who are looking after the human rights and food aid, etc., in Palestine, in Europe, in Washington, say that this is very unfortunate because humanitarian aid was going to Palestinians even earlier. Because of their topography and relationships with Israel, they are about 40 to 50% are unemployed. And so the life goes on with the aid. Now, in this case, the Israel had developed sewage lines and water lines and electricity lines and all that, but they have cut it all off. Once again, as per the UN resolutions and Geneva Convention, this is not done because there is no declared war from the side of the Palestinians. There is a state of the war declared by Israel. It is inhuman to cut off the food and so on, especially for the babies and even for the men. I mean, women, we can say women and babies, but even men need water and food, otherwise there will be disease very, very soon. So it's been quite heartening that Mr. Tedros, the president of the World Health Organization, has himself visited that place and made an appeal, especially to the Western countries, to allow these things to happen. So the UN resolution was that there should be a ceasefire for the duration of when the humanitarian aid is passing, while Russian resolution was that there should be ceasefire because this should not be allowed to go any further because you have to look at the sides and we will see what are the sides. So now what is this conflict all about? The fighting between Israel and Hamas, who launched the surprise attack on 6th, is the latest in 7 decades of war. Well, since 1948, so we are talking about 75 years of continuous conflict and wars and between Israelis and Palestinians. That has on in outside powers also, and these have stabilized the wider Middle East. Though last few years, the direction was in the direction of shaking hands, and latest was going to be the rapprochement between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Iran is on the other side. Iran also supports Hezbollah, which is strong in Lebanon, and it's a far more disciplined force also. To call them terrorists is also going a little bit out of the way because they have not performed any terrorist acts in Israel or other areas. So now, before discussing this conflict further, we need to go back where the problem has come from.
There once was a land called Palestine where Christians, Muslims, and Jews lived fine. In the 1800s, it was ruled by the Ottoman Empire. Meanwhile, a bearded guy founded Zionists for Jews to aspire, a land that becomes their home and safe only for their kind. Then there was World War I that ended when the Allies won, and England was like, hey, this beautiful land is totally mine. Still the name was Palestine, even though it was colonized, and a promise for a Zionist state was made by a man that had no right. Then more and more Jews arrived seeking refuge, and that's alright until their plan to steal the land was no longer to hide. The year was 1948 when Israel bullied its way into a state. Thousands of Palestinians fled their homes to survive. No right for return, no right for a home, no right to fight for the land that they owned. Israel expanded more and more into an apartheid. Where is your humanity? Where is your respect for dignity? Call it conflict, that's insanity. It's time to change your mind. One day Palestine will be free, so be on the right side of history. You're not anti-Semitic if you stand against war crimes. Don't be brainwashed by the news. Now you can see for yourself the truth. Learn about the story of Palestine.